We're here with Wyatt. He just got his first ever Premier Event top. Big one, topping a 2,600 person North American World Championship qualifier, playing Board Breaker Tenpai. Not the standard, 18 hand trap Tenpai deck. So we're gonna get into it. Show us what you played, Wyatt.
All right, so engine-wise, pretty standard: 3 Pydra, 3 Chunda, 1 Genroku, and 1 Fadra. I never missed the second Fadra. Genroku comes up a lot in furthering your combos the same way this would as well. Also, Genroku I found is really good in the mirror. It's really good going first in anything. Setting Kaiman just for follow-up, and now you can also get a body. And so, I played Yubel and set a Kaiman because I was going first to do Drago, and being able to go Kaiman, this, end phase, summon, tribute, summon other Pydra, search field spell is really good. Other standard stuff: 3 field spell, terraforming, 3 Kaiman, and 3 Pot of Prosperity. In decks like this, Prosperity really serves a really good double purpose going second, because it can get you engine pieces you need, but can also get you to your board breakers as well. So it's kind of like a bridge between the two engines. And then we also had, for some of the non-engine, we had 3 Mulch Army, 3 Shifter, and 3 Imperm. Felt like we had to play 3 Imperm. Worried about post-game ones. Fiendsmith decks using sequence to either get to Beatrice to go rise to full height, or go to a Griffin lock, or some, talk about spell cancel, that kind of stuff. Shifter was by far the best card in the deck, completely shutting out the Fiendsmith. I expected a lot of the Snake Eye players to have cut the rank 1, and I shifted a lot of Snake Eye players, and nobody ever dropped a rank 1 on me, so I think that was the best call there. Mulch Army was also pretty good. I used it 5 times, and I only drew from it twice because it got an Ash, it got a Call by the Grave, and then one time somebody just played really mediocre to not have me draw. It was a Snake Eye player. They just ended on just Desiree, so I wouldn't draw from hand, but I mean, that's better than drawing cards at that point. And then another time against Whitewood Runick, I pitched 2, drew like 4 cards with it. And then also 3 Forbidden Droplet. Card's insane. And then instead of playing the standard hand traps, going straight for the board breakers, 3 Regeki, 3 Dark Hole, a Lightning Storm, and 3 Cosmic Cyclones. I felt like Cosmic was by far the right move for this event. It kind of, against standard Snake Eye, there's all the cool things they can do with like the anti-spell, the rise to full height, the spell canceler, but I really expected the most common thing just to be Desiree, which it was by far, well, from at least my games. And so this kind of serves as another board breaker into Desiree. You can activate a Dark Hole to clear the board, they chain Desiree Negate, you chain Cyclone, banishing the link, then it doesn't resolve because it doesn't have a Fiendsmith Link monster attached to it. It's also good having this in the main deck for if you lose the die roll in the mirror match, you have somebody to hit the field spell. And other decks playing continuous spells and just general back row, you can hit imperms and stuff game 1 as well.
40 cards, right?
40, yes.
Yeah. One question I had was why didn't you find room for Thrust, considering you're playing all the normal spells?
So I played Thrust in Indy, and it was really good then because I was playing Feather Duster, I was playing the extra Lightning Storm, I was playing Herald of the Abyss, for Fucho and stuff like that. So one, I had a lot more room. We had Mulch Army come in, so we needed to make room for that. Shifter felt a lot more mandatory. Shifter was iffy before Info came out, because if you shifted Snake Eye, they could just make a Fucho or a Lyrilisk, and then it was almost worse than having not shifted them, because you couldn't get as much of a setup without your graveyard to try to survive since you can't kill them. And so coming with that, it just put a lot of cards into the deck that replace cards that made Thrust and Talents live. So up until literally the day we submitted the deck list, we had 2 Thrust and a Talents in the main deck, and I kept drawing them and them not be initially live. And so that's what made me cut them for cards that, ironically, we actually cut them to main deck Cyclone, which could make it live, but switching the spots, there was just no room, and then when it was in the deck, we didn't have anything to really force them to be playable. Side deck, Kogimaru Drago. So this card was amazing. So there was a a play with some other stuff in here I'll go over, but pretty much we were actually sighting this in against anything we would choose to go first against, like Yubel, the Gimmick Puppet FTK branded. I sighted it against branded going first, Yubel going first. In the second last match, I actually opened this going first, game 3 into Yubel, and they couldn't out it. But we were also sighting this in for Snake Eye, and I kind of explain that a little more when we get lower in the side deck. 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. We were sighting for not knowing, mainly for Snake Eye, not knowing if they were going to make us go first or them go first once we win game 1 or 2. And it was actually split. I played 4 Snake Eyes, and 2 of them made me go first, and then 2 of them chose to go first post game 1. But it was just it was safer to have in there. It's good for the mirror match. It's good for a lot of rogue decks. Also wanted stuff for a little worried about the Gimmick FTK, so it was good to have more stuff for that. Droll, also to stop the FTK. I did side this into the mirror going first, mainly just because of getting stuff out of the main deck for going first. But it was never fantastic in the mirror in theory. If they have to start Prosperity or if they have to start Field Spell to get the Hydra, then it could shut their turn down. But it's mainly for the FTKs. It's really good against Ritual Beast. Naturally, it's a gamble if they shift for you or not, but...
They probably side out Shifter against you, though, which is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Like, he's not that good against you.
And then we had Lancia, it's pretty much for Ritual Beast. I never actually sided this in. I never played Ritual Beast.
But yeah, I mean, that deck FTKs you, and you can't Shifter it, so...
Right.
Yeah.
I sided the Feather Duster and the second Lightning Storm. This really, anytime I was going second, pretty much went in to beat side deck cards like Skill Drain and whatnot. That's the biggest thing is, at Indy, I lost multiple games to just Skill Drain. And so I wanted to make sure, that's why the Cyclones are in the main deck too. And the last card was Book of Eclipse. So this card was, in the idea was that it's really good going first against a lot of decks. It's decent going first in the mirror. But it's good going first or second into Snake Eye. So it was a card that we could put in that didn't have to rely on much if they made us go first or they chose to go first. And there was a really cool play we were doing with making seals and setting this against Snake Eye, where the idea would be that you would, if you had 2 engine, like say you had like white, you had white and Chandra, and then you would go like summon white, field spell, search Chandra. I'm trying to remember this exactly. I don't know if you have white and Chandra, you would search
like Genroku.
Field spell, search Genroku. Yeah, Genroku. Summon Genroku, and then you would just make seals with this and have this set. Where's my extra deck? So you would be here, and you would end on this, and then on their turn when they start their Ash play, they go Ash effect, summon Poplar, do their search, and then post res, you would go Chainlink 1, Genroku, Chainlink 2, Book of Eclipse. So you would resolve Book of Eclipse, flip their Ash Poplar face down, and then Genroku would resolve, and it would summon the Hydra, and then you would search another engine, so then you would have this in hand, these are all engraved, and so you have this for follow-up, and then you would go Seals, pitch, bounce the summoning to hand, affect Seals, summon Draco. Now they've already done Ash Poplar, and so they can't summon Fiendsmiths, and they can't summon Witch.
Yep, and they're cooked.
Yep.
I think you guys still go through the extra deck, though.
Oh, you're right. Okay. All right. So most of the extra deck was pretty basic. There are some interesting things in here. So 2 Biden, 1 Transcendent, 1 Trident. I only summoned Trident twice. I had to do it because my opponent had, in the second to last wood, he had second last round he had dogwooded me, and so he was at 27,000 life points, and so I just sat there with a 6k Trident Dragon, attack him for over and over again for the next 3 turns. So he did Rudy Rose and Bestial Dispatter. So the idea here was supposed to be that if you couldn't kill them, you make the Rudy Rose, banish the graveyards, and then summon Dispatter so you have negate, and then usually in the 1 card line you would have another Tenpai Dragon, so you would link the 2 into Seals, so you would end on Seals Dispatter, so that way you could avoid being killed the next turn. I never actually summoned Dispatter, which is weird because I did it a lot in testing, but I did summon Rudy Rose, and the reason I summoned Rudy Rose was there's times where like you Charm me and you draw into Shifter, or you Shifter and you have another one and you can't kill them, where you just make Rudy Rose banish the graveyards, then you can use the second Shifter.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Black Rose, because Black Rose is amazing, especially in a deck where you can make it unaffected in the main phase. Queebolt is amazing to have the generic pop in battle phase. It combos well against Yubel. You make the rank 10 and then summon Queebolt, pop a Yubel. They can't use the graveyard effect to summon. But what came up multiple times that was really good was you would have the 2, you would have, say you started with Chandra, and you go attack, damage step, summon, search, Kaiman. And so if you have a field spell, I'm sorry, it would be safer to play around Ash, because in this line there's nothing you could Ash. So if you just got Kaiman, activate Kaiman, they Ash it, you can't kill them when you're under Shifter. Now, you can't be under Prosperity for this, but instead, you could just set the field spell, they've taken 3,200 damage, quick effect of Synchro, summon Queebolt, pop the field spell double Queebolt, so he's at 5,000, that's enough for game. And so it's just, it's a way to 1 card OTK through Ash. Because especially since we didn't play the talents, you'd be super mindful of hand traps. You didn't have the really easy way to just look at their hand and grab all the hand traps. Once I grab all
this is an interesting deck profile.
Yeah, it is. Next thing we played was the Zeus line.
Shout out to Royal. I don't think Wyatt even knows Royal, but...
No. So the Zeus line, so this came out multiple times in Indy, and so I decided I was definitely going to play it again. It almost didn't make it in because we talked about playing Metal Tronus, and it had to be these spots, but I was pretty adamant that I wanted to play this. And then I had a game against Snake Eye where I got shifted, and he had Oaken defense and an SP and attack, and I was under the field spell, and I had Pydra, and so
you said you got shifted. You mean deburied?
Deburied, sorry. Yeah, I got deburied, couldn't do synchros. And so I summoned a Genroku without increasing its level, and it only locks you if you use a tribute effect. So then I was able to make a Fortune Tune with 2 of them, keeping the Pydra in attack. Pydra killed the SP, this killed the Oak, so their board was clear, and then I just ended on Zeus, and they couldn't beat it. So it won me a game. I have played this in 2 events and I've never summoned it. The idea is meant to be that if you clear their board and they debarrier you, 2 names can kill by just making this. Kaiman into Fadra, bring back the Chandra, everything gains 500 attack, so once Chandra summons something, that'll be over 8,000 damage. It has never come up. SP and Striker Dragon. All day yesterday I was like, oh, I can't believe I haven't used this. And then in the second last round, I made it and I would have lost if I didn't play it. So it seems like that's a lot of the Tenpai extra deckers, those cards that never come up and then they win a game all of a sudden. Obviously, Seals was the most important one.
Cool. All right. Do you have any, I don't know, you got any shout outs or anything, Wyatt?
Yeah, shout out to everybody that came with me, especially the guy behind the camera.
Oh, thanks, Wyatt.
He's a staunch supporter of Tenpai, loves the deck, thinks it's a lot, very skill-based. Shout out to Logan for playing the exact same list as me, both here and in Indy, and the trust that he put into me with it. Shout out to everybody else that came with us. You know, Jesse, who keeps making faces at me behind a window over here. Kyle, Daniel, the whole Vianello clan, Jack, of course, Tarek, Joseph, and hopefully I didn't miss anybody, but yeah, shout out to everybody there.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Wyatt. We'll put the matchups in the description for everyone.